like to emphasize that the dust of the World Trade Center had a very slight radioactive fingerprint after all, which means architects and engineers for 9/11 Truth will never make it out of the box if they continue to ignore the silver bullet they already own, namely the analysis published by Dr. Loy. First, beta activity was slightly elevated, although not more than twice the background level. Second, there were no levels of gamma activity higher than 1 becquerel per gram, which equals 1000 becquerel per kilogram. But the permissible limit for radiocesium content in food is only 600 becquerel per kilogram. The region shown in orange would, therefore, be higher than the permissible limit, but estimated as not worth being mentioned in the report by Dr. Loy. Shown here is a sort of guideline for a one-time ingestion of mushrooms or game. In Germany, up to 17,000 becquerel per kilogram meat were measured in wild boars even 30 years after the reactor catastrophe of Chernobyl. The reason for that high value is that these animals feed partly on mushrooms, which in their turn filter air and soil and retain radiocesium. Now, imagine the first responders inhaling the dust and the fumes, filtering it with their lungs for many months. Note that the fumes might have had an even higher contamination than the dust. It is important to understand that a single intake of food with, let's say, 2000 becquerels per kilogram causes much less harm than a continuous breathing of fumes with an activity of, let's say, 100 becquerel per kilogram, even if you exhale the fumes afterwards. It is the accumulated intake and breathing of the fumes that will sum up over time to a dangerous level. A dose of 100 millisievert will cause cancer in about 1% of the people irradiated. This cancer rate coincides with the observed facts on ground zero. However, additional negative effects of toxic fumes on the site must also be taken into account. In general, contamination was extremely low and not consistent with shallow underground nuclear explosions. I explained the reasons for this on my website, detailing the filter process by atomic nuclei bumping into each other like billiard balls hit billiard balls, meaning the transfer of energy by the transfer of momentum on an atomic scale. This filter process occurred 10 seconds prior to eruption of the clean working gases, while the contaminated mix stayed mostly underground. The extremely low contamination is explainable with solid science as long as you take the detected minimal increase into account and don't deny it or argue it away. Unfortunately, to date all organizations, universities, research institutes, societies or associations concluded firmly that any sort of a nuclear process must be ruled out due to quote-unquote missing radioactive signature. So, in my view, some radioisotopes were present and did escape even when trapped, captured and therefore masked in the iron-rich dust. Hence the unsuspicious beta activity detected by Dr. Loy. Before trying to detect beta activity, the iron-rich dust should first be dissolved entirely, for example by using boiling sulfuric acid. And that's no joke, it's not easy to handle. Any lab manager will tell you that. And it was not done by Dr. Loy's team. I do hope architects and engineers for 9/11 Truth will turn to nuclear physicists for help, because they could provide the right answers after all these years. But as long as the organization deals only with the questions of construction characteristics and classical explosions, they will not come closer to their claim truth and will not unleash the true potential of their search for it. In doing so, they could easily help the American people to realize on what scale they have been misled and betrayed from within and without, and thus help take back their government. And as Catherine Austin Fitts points out, otherwise the rogue structures and criminal globalist organizations will take America down and transform it, replacing the dollar system by their global digital currency and implementing the rogue police state that is currently unfolding before our eyes. Power and the abuse thereof. Never give up and expose the filth. Thank you.